Hey guys, it's Yuta. So, I have to warn you first because what I'm about to show you is pretty hard to watch. Now the video in question is by Brianna from Morena in Japan. Brianna and her friend were hanging out at night in a place that seems like Osaka, and they were approached by two Japanese men who made vulgar comments. And somebody also spat on them. I'm gonna show you the clip because it's pretty short.
Say hi.
Oh my
Hi.
god.
Say yahoo.
ヤッホー
What about him?
あ、何これ写真じゃないんや動画なんやヤッホー
Video.
ヤッホ
Oh my fucking god.
ー Fucking girl? Oh
We should be like,
big,
this is,
big,
this,
big penis
this is real men.
It's anaconda
This is real
It's
men.
anaconda
I wish it was.
It's anaconda が
Big
おまんこに
pussy.
噛みつき
Go, you're getting censored. I don't care. This is how weird people.
It's anaconda がおまんこに噛みつき
I don't know these people. I don't know these people.
Very, very
We just
anaconda.
met them. They asked me what dick was
Yeah
in English.
アナコンダが噛みつき
ブログよ。
クリトリスお豆さん食べる
I love how
頭の上にカフェオーレ
Oh shit.
Oh, head.
Oh my fucking god. Okay,
Okay.
anyway, this is done. I'm over
I'm
it.
cold.
え、何交換しよう
We're trying to go home.
LINE 交換しよう
Fuck.
外人ってさ、お前何撮ってんのほら外人って性欲強いから結構やっぱそういうの好きやねんで、なんか外人の AV 見るとき大体アナルファックしてるんだけど興味あるよ、正味やったことある
What type of question?
え、
Like
お父さんは
you
何してる
bold as fuck.
お父さんが
God.
Now this is disgusting. Totally not acceptable. Brianna and her friend didn't do anything to deserve the way they were treated, and it was completely uncalled for. The guys were 100% to be blamed. But some people made comments like, oh, maybe the guys thought it was okay because she was laughing and smiling. But it's important to remember that the guys weren't really talking to them normally. The guy with long hair was making pretty crude and vulgar remarks. I think many people didn't quite understand what the guys were saying because the original video didn't have subtitles. But now you do. And he was also mocking her with his fake foreign accent. No smiling and laughing should give you permission to treat another human being like that. This is not an ambiguous situation. Of course, it would have been a different question if the guys were talking to her normally and respectfully while respecting her personal space. There's nothing inherently wrong with talking to strangers respectfully. And still, some people may feel uncomfortable being approached by strangers. And there could be a lot of ambiguity in this kind of situation. But that's not what happened here. The guy was clearly being disrespectful. So this is not an ambiguous situation. Now let's discuss another type of comment saying that you should just move away when strangers approach you. And this seems like sensible advice, but it has a few problems. First of all, it's easy for us to watch this video in our own room and judge other people's behavior. And it's easy to say, oh, they should have behaved like that in hindsight. But if you are actually the one who is experiencing it, if you are actually in that situation, it will be a totally different question. And being in a foreign country where they speak a foreign language and everything is happening fast, it doesn't help. And it often takes time to understand the implication of what's going on around you and what you are experiencing. And especially when people are not behaving like the way they are supposed to behave. And your experience can be very confusing and uncertain, and I can totally understand if you don't know what to do. Because there's a lot to process and we may need time to digest. And nervously smiling and laughing can be your coping strategy in an awkward situation. But there might be other reasons too. For example, maybe you don't want to be rude or uptight. Or maybe you feel like they would retaliate if you just ignore them. And I think that's a totally valid concern. It might not be easy for everybody to just walk away, and it will be unreasonable to expect everybody to behave in the perfect way. And you shouldn't be punished for being nice to strangers. Just imagine the kind of place where nobody talks to anybody because they are so afraid of strangers. I don't want to live in that kind of place. Of course, if you don't feel safe, it's perfectly okay to run away, but the thing is, you don't always know who is safe or who is not. People can be perfectly normal and still be disrespectful. For example, Brianna shared this clip.
Wait, hold on.
乳首丸出し乳首丸出しロケットニップル
Compared to the first video where the guys may look like bad guys, the second video is a little different because they look pretty average to me. But still, they were pretty vulgar and disrespectful. If you ask me, I probably wouldn't have guessed that they would be like that. And I find that the casualness of the situation a little concerning. I think they probably just thought that they were just joking around. And they failed to realize how shitty their behavior was. And I have the impression that because Brianna looked different and foreign, the guys didn't really empathize with her on the same level that they would with other Japanese people. For example, I don't think they would have done the same thing with Japanese women. That's really bad. And I also think there's group dynamics. Because they were in a group, they must have felt bigger. And they felt safer to make vulgar comments. And they didn't realize how intimidating the situation can be for men and one woman. There's a power imbalance here. And this structure is also common with bullying, for example. Now, I feel like maybe some of you guys feel a bit defensive about this. You might think, oh, it's impossible to talk to strangers these days. But let me remind you that the guys weren't really talking to them normally and respectfully. They weren't just trying to have innocent conversations. So ask yourself if you actually would make vulgar sexual remarks to random women in the street. You probably wouldn't. Well, I hope you wouldn't. I'm not really talking about subtle cases where the boundary is not very clear. These are pretty obvious and blatant cases. So the bottom line is, it's the guys in her videos who should know better and change their behavior, not Brianna. And Brianna also shared a video where a guy followed her while staring at her boobs. This is very creepy. Now, as much as many people think that Japanese people are nice and polite, which is true in some cases even though it's not in other cases, Japan is not free from sexual harassment and assault. Not at all. And when it happens, it can be especially hard to speak out. So I appreciate Brianna's courage to share her experience. It's not easy. If you share such a story, there will be inevitably victim blaming, shaming, and backlashes. And many people will offer you unsolicited advice and tell you what to do instead of listening to you and trying to understand you. But I can assure you, there will always be people who will listen to you. There will always be people who will pay attention and try to change their own behavior or other people's behavior. And if they are not ready to listen to you now, some of them will in the future. I personally find it very helpful to listen to your stories. It helps me pay more attention and it helps me recognize some of those situations. And there's so many things that I wouldn't have known if nobody around me shared their stories. I actually asked some of my friends about their experiences prior to making this video. And they always have a couple of stories to share, and when they don't, they know somebody who does. And I feel like there's so many things that I don't know yet. So I hope you guys find this video meaningful in some ways, and thank you for watching. Alright, see you guys soon. Ciao ciao.